Let's just dive right into rogues, boys. Let's do it.
Yeah, so we've got a lot to talk about on this week's episode of TableTalk Friday. I'm sure you saw it from the title, but this week we're talking about the new Unearthed Arcana for One D&D, the Player's Handbook 6, which I guess they're just numbering them now based on the order. That makes sense. We've got so much shit to talk about. I think this episode is going to focus on the monk, since we finally have the monk, and we haven't seen any of their changes yet, but lots of crazy shit to get into. Drew and I were just talking before the episode about some of our thoughts. Drew, you haven't read through a lot of the options yet, but
not the entirety, because like I imagine other people's thoughts here, as you look into this new update, you realize, we didn't just get one thing. They gave us everything. I just asked for monks, guys. That's literally the one thing I needed this week, and that's what I looked into. Okay, there's too much stuff in this update, but I love it, and I'm getting emotional talking to Zach about it, so I'm ready to jump into it.
Yeah, and we're gonna do our best to not spend 3 different episodes talking about this one like we did for the last one, because I assume from here they're just gonna get longer and longer. So we really want to focus on the stuff that resonates with us, but just sort of general overview. I think that this is a cool Unearthed Arcana. There are some changes that I really want them to walk back, but we'll get into that when we get into it. Generally speaking, though, I do like the changes to the monk. I think they still need some retweaking to make the monk more viable, though, as I don't think this version of the monk is much more powerful than the 2014 Player's Handbook version, and out of all the classes, they're probably the ones that need the power boost the most. So we'll get into that. Just other general thoughts that I can't wait to talk about. They really fucked with my boys, the Druids, so we'll get into that eventually. And they need to save my Divine Smite. They're not doing it for Paladins.
They didn't change it at all?
No, so functionally they haven't. But they actually made it worse. So we'll talk about Paladins a little bit later, I think. But the way that it works now, you get Divine Smite. I believe it's still at 2nd level, but it's a spell now. And so you get a feature that's called Paladin Smites, I believe. And so you get all of your Paladin spells, or I'm sorry, all of your Smite spells automatically when you reach certain levels. So at first level, or the first time you get Divine Smite, and Thunderous Smite, and Searing Smite, and then when you become eligible for, I believe it's Blinding Smite now, or Shimmering Smite, whatever it's called. It used to be the Branding Smite.
I want Glittery Smite is what I want. I want you to hit them with like a pack of glitter at the end of your hammer, and it just explodes. They're never getting that off. That's a terrible thing to be hit by. I would not want to get hit by that for sure. I definitely
absolutely not. Yeah. So anyway, you get all of the Paladin Smites automatically, so you don't have to use any of your spell slots or your available spell options on those. So generally, you're getting more spells for your buck. I believe you also get Find Steed automatically. So you've got a nice solid, I think you cap at 15 total spells that you can take at 20th level.
That sounds beefy. I'm kind of excited to play one.
Yeah, so it's not terrible. But what they did to Divine Smite is they made it a spell. So now, so all of the Smite features are the same. And Divine Smite works just like it did before, where it's 2d8 for a 1st level slot. You get an extra one for free if they're a fiend or undead. Mm-hmm. And then you can upcast it for the additional, d8s. The issue, though, is it's a bonus action that you take when you hit with an attack. So functionally, it hasn't changed at all from the previous iteration, where since it's a bonus action spell, you can't cast a spell on the same turn that you Divine Smite, and additionally, you can't combine any of your smites. So it's Divine Smite or Thunderous Smite or whichever other option you want. So I still really hate it. I don't like it at all. I think a bonus action for 2d8 isn't that much when we get into higher level character options, or even at 1st level, if you pull out a dual wielding build, you're making a whole extra attack with a bonus action. That's a lot more powerful than 2d8, in my opinion. So
yeah, I don't know. To me, the way you're explaining it, and we'll get more into it next week, but the way you're explaining it sounds like they made it organized a little bit better. Like it's a little easier to understand exactly where your spells lie and where your smites are at. but it doesn't sound like the person who really wants to play Paladin and wants to go ham can do that, which I feel like you're taking away the main player base of the Paladin itself there. So I don't know. I'll have to dig into it a little bit more. But, funny enough, to segue into monks here, you mentioned the Divine Smite kind of being dirtied down. We can only do it once and all that. They did kind of a similar thing with the monks on the Stunning Strike that I kind of feel like, which we'll get to in just a minute here. But I think, Zach, we got to start talking about monks now. So
yes.
Let's do it. The first thing that I notice about monks, which I think is odd. So in the player handbook, to be very clear, the equipment you get to choose was, I think it was like a simple weapon and something else. You got a broad range of things to pick from as far as your weapon went, right? Because you could look at the simple weapon chart and pick from there. However, in the new one, it does not say that any longer. At first level character, you start with the following equipment. You can forego it and spend 65 gold pieces on equipment of your choice. So the options that it gives you below, instead of just buying whatever you want there, it does not include a quarterstaff, which I think is super weird.
That is interesting that they don't really reference the quarterstaff at all.
Yeah.
For the monk. They still can use it perfectly fine based on the new rules. They've also removed monks' proficiency with short swords. So now they're limited specifically to simple weapons. They've moved the short sword back to being a martial weapon. So they can't use those, but they can use any simple weapons that they'd like, and that includes simple ranged weapons. So you could really you could use slings if you want to, or
no one's gonna use a sling.
Yeah, but anyway, it's an option. And you've got spears. Seems to be the first one that they're giving monks here. Front and center, though obviously they, with the new One D&D rules, they're encouraging you to buy your own equipment the way that you want it. So, that's neither here nor there in my opinion. But it is interesting because really, if you want an optimal monk, you're going to go with that quarterstaff to get the D8 at first level, which has always been the case, and it still is. But interesting, getting into their first ability here, we do have martial arts, which has been improved in a number of ways. Drew, why don't you tell me a little bit about the martial arts feature?
Yeah, so martial arts, basically they get proficiency with unarmed strikes, which is, what monks have always done for the most part. They also get to move... Oh, that movement's separate. Monk ability is so weird, they get all, mixed up. So you get the bonus unarmed strike, which is from before. I don't believe they changed that. I think it was the exact same in the player handbook.
Yep.
When you take a basic attack action with the monk, you can use your bonus action to strike again, which is really good for those low-level monks that don't yet have multi-attack or the flurry of blows. So very easily, starting off, right off the bat, you get 2 strikes, which is kind of what monks are about, getting a whole lot of strikes off really quickly. You get dexterous strikes. You can use dexterity instead of strength, which is the same thing it was before. You still can't use two-handed weapons, which is fine. I don't want my monk using a two-handed weapon. It just feels weird, unless, of course, it's a quarterstaff.
Yeah,
which is okay.
And the only one that's being called out here by this, since they can use this for any simple weapons. And noticeably, they've removed the distinction of monk weapons entirely, so it's just all simple weapons. They don't even call out what monk weapons are and how they're more Eastern flavored. Which sort of reflects a greater design sensibility that we'll get into in a little bit. But I do think it's interesting to call out. But the only weapon simple weapon that has the two-handed property that they can't use here, I believe, is the Great Club. Or at least that's the only melee one.
Which is fine. I don't want my monk using a Great Club either. My monk is going to be using a spear, he's going to be using a quarterstaff, or he's going to be using hands for the most part.
Yeah,
maybe a sling
sure.
if you want to be flavorful, but... that D4 kind of hurts. And we just got away from that. Let's just talk about it in just a second here. So, also at first level, they still get the unarmored defense. It has not changed as far as I could tell. They still get their normal AC, which adds their wisdom into it. So pretty much like barbarians with their strength or their constitution there. Nothing too different. I was kind of wondering if they would change that at all as far as their actual AC calculation, but they did not. Apparently, a lot of people online don't like the AC of monks. They think it's difficult to get relatively high, which I don't necessarily agree with because the two higher stats of the monk are always going to be dexterity and wisdom. But there was a lot of people online that were kind of stressed about the AC being too low still and thought that was going to be some sort of fix.
It really depends on how your group determines stats because, if you end up with a particularly blessed monk, then they might be sort of overpowered to start. I mean, you could feasibly have, and this is just in the perfect circumstances to make this happen. But at first level, you could have a monk with 19 AC if you've got a +5 in Dex or Wisdom, and then a +4 in the other one. But that's probably not going to happen. So like the average monk will be rocking a 16 or 17 for the first few levels, which isn't great for a frontline fighter.
It's fine once they get that patient defense ability, but early on when you don't have it, and you especially don't want to spend one of your 2 or 3 points using your patient defense at that point, it could be a little rough. So I get people's hesitation with that.
But I do also want to call out, since you just mentioned it sort of quickly. I think the biggest change here for the monk, that is an overall positive in my opinion, is the upgrade to the martial arts die. So at first level, while in the 2014 Player's Handbook, you started at a D4 and worked your way up to a D10, you now start at a D6, which is appropriate, I think. And then you work your way up to a D12 at the end, which is a lot of power, but I don't think just the extra 1 or 2 damage on average from a D12 versus a D10 is going to break anything at those higher levels. Really, I think the monks need every point of damage that they can get. So
no, completely agree. I have no problems with the 10 to 12. I will say I think the biggest breaking thing, I'm not going to say it's breaking anything, but the biggest buff here is that D4 to the D6 in the early levels, because they start off, unless you're dual wielding something, right? They start off with being able to make that extra strike with their so they're starting off with 2 strikes at level 1. They're good to go, right? So no one else does that unless they're using 2 swords. I think that's pretty neat that they did that, but it might be pretty strong in the first 3 levels. I don't know. Maybe I'm overblowing the extra 2 on the D4 to the D6, but I feel like 2D6 every single turn, that could be rough at a low level.
That's pretty good, but let me take that and raise you this. They also get Weapon Mastery, which we see this feature has been extended to pretty much every class that you thought should have it when they dropped this in the last UA. So now monks get it, paladins get it, rangers get it, all at first level, and rogues get it as well, which I think is interesting. But there are some good features that the rogues will benefit from, and I think it's appropriate as long as the fighter is the only one who really gets to manipulate it in the way that they do.
For sure, completely agree. I do think it's weird that they have weapon mastery, just because usually you're not using a weapon as a monk. It just seems a little, ill-placed.
Well, yeah. So it really it seems to be you can either choose to use weapon mastery to your benefit, or you can focus on your unarmed strikes. The only weapon mastery option that the monks get access to that I really think will benefit them in the long run is the nick property of the dagger or sickle. And so what this does is it allows you to make a second attack if you're wielding 2 light one-handed weapons without expending a bonus action. So you could potentially, with your action at first level, make 2 dagger attacks, and then bonus action unarmed strike for a total of 3 attacks at first level, which is actually pretty awesome.
Wait, how are they getting 3 strikes at level 1?
So the weapon mastery property of daggers is it's called nick, which is a weird name for it. But if you're wielding 2 weapons that you can 2-weapon fight with, you can make the second attack of 2-weapon fighting without expending a bonus action.
Oh, that's that's kind of nuts, actually. Jeez.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, and that's probably the maybe one of the reasons that they're sort of turning your attention away from the quarterstaff, is because while that is cool, and I forget which weapon mastery option the quarterstaff gets, the dagger seems very enticing for monks, especially maybe like on a shadow monk where you make that your focus. That seems super flavorful to me.
Oh, I love that. That's really cool. And we'll get into shadow monks in just a little bit here, guys. They did include them. Just a little spoiler. They are included. But the next thing I want to talk about is one of the biggest parts of the monk, obviously, their martial discipline.
Right.
Which you might not recognize that term, but that's their key points. Not quite sure why they changed it. I love the idea that a monk is a very disciplined fighter, right? That's for sure their energy. They started calling them warriors in this one and then changed it to discipline. but I loved the key. I loved key points. I thought it was super easy to say. It was easy to spell, just KI, super easy. It kind of flowed, like the flow of energy, literally. I thought it worked really well.
So I'll tell you, here's my game theory about this.
Oh?
I feel like around the monk, there's always been sort of this discussion from like hardcore fantasy nerds who feel like the monk doesn't really belong in a fantasy setting. So I think what they're trying to do here is change the language to make the monk seem more fitting in any kind of fantasy setting. So, this isn't Dragon Ball. They don't have key points anymore. They have their martial discipline that manifests in certain ways, but we're not calling it out as this magical key energy anymore, all right? It's something that they've trained, and it's just their discipline, all right? So they're just really good unarmed fighters is what they're getting at. Which I think is why they're also pulling away from calling, monk weapons and calling out like specific cultural things that they might be. They're saying, all right, you could have a monk from, East Asia, but these monks can be whatever fantasy character you want them to be. They just happen to be good at unarmed fighting. So I think that's probably why they're making that decision. I don't have a strong feeling about it one way or the other. But it does feel weird to sort of shine a light on that in this new version, just because it's a one-to-one recreation of the monk from the player's handbook in most areas, or the 2014 one. So it's interesting that that's something that they felt was important to include. But I don't care one way or the other. If it stays martial discipline, that's fine with me. Though I would like the subclasses to change, as you mentioned. They're now called Warrior of the Open Hand.
Yeah.
Warrior of the Elements. I like Way of the Forehand. I think that's cool. And it is of a particular kind of flavor, but I don't think it's Warrior just sounds too generic for me, and it doesn't fully capture like the idea of the monk.
And while they are in the warrior group, I don't necessarily consider a monk a warrior, right? To me, I don't know what a warrior is or is not, right? I don't have the exact definition of warrior, but to me, when I think warrior, I'm thinking barbarian, fighter, right? Like people that are like meant to do damage. They're meant to have these big weapons that do as much damage as possible and have heft in combat. Like a monk, to me, does not have that same caliber of, I don't know, strength, I guess, because they're mostly dex-based. I don't know. I don't want to say that all warriors are strength-based, because you have arcane archers, right, that are fighters. So I get that. But to me, they just don't feel like warriors. Saying that a monk is a warrior of the hand or a warrior of the elements just seems out of character. I don't know.
Right. Well, and it's an oxymoron, too, because we do see the Way of Mercy from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything return as the fourth subclass for monks here, which, just if you haven't heard, this new Unearthed Arcana does cover all the subclasses that are projected to be in this new player's handbook. So it's 4 for each of the classes listed here. And Way of Mercy makes it in here, but I feel like that's sort of, it's weird to be a warrior of mercy. I mean, that is metal as fuck.
Oh, no, absolutely.
But I don't think it fully meshes with the flavor that the Way of Mercy goes for. It is sort of like a gentle hand of death, right? That seems more like the way of mercy. Like this is the method of mercy we use, rather than being a warrior who delivers mercy. Like what's
what do you mean there?
Yeah.
The closest thing I think of when you say a warrior of mercy, right? What I think of immediately is the samurai subclass of fighter. To me, that's like, okay, they don't want to kill you. Probably they have the Bushido code that they're following of chivalry and loyalty and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I just think warrior is odd on the monk. So we'll see if they change that. I don't know. To me, maybe other people are taking it the same way I am, or you are. I'm not sure. I guess it's not the biggest of deals because it really hasn't changed anything for the most part. But they're warriors now, which is interesting.
Yeah, it makes me think of the Oath of Redemption paladin too. Like that could be like a warrior of mercy, which is not featured here. Unfortunately, they went with a different paladin subclass for the fourth option, but.
All right.
Anyway, well, back to monks.
Jumping back in, so we were talking about key points, essentially, or the discipline points now. What I find interesting is that a lot of people that wanted revisions to the monk, they wanted more key points in the beginning, right? So when you think of monks and sorcerers, right, they're very similar. They have a point system that they then use those points to do their very cool staple abilities, right? You have flurry of blows, and sorcerers could do meta magic, right? So it's very similar. The difference someone mentioned to me, and I thought it was very interesting, was that sorcerers are still badass without their points. Monks, not as much, like they have a lot of cool things that they could do with their discipline points now, right? They could do the flurry of blows, the stunning strike, the step of the wind, patient defense, and all those things require points. And at low levels, when you're like level 3 or 4, it feels like you can run out of your points very quickly. And of course, monks do get their points back on a short rest. We know that. But then we're leaning into a resting type of game. You may not always get the ability to have that short rest. And I think they manipulated the warlock in a way that didn't they need the short rest, or they didn't need the short rest now? I don't know. They're changing the rest. I'm just not sure how I'm feeling about it. I think if they were going to be changing these into discipline points, and I thought maybe they would revamp it in some way. Maybe you get a couple more. Maybe you had a different way in the beginning to channel more beyond just a short rest. I don't know the exact way to fix that, because I do think monks feel a little bit weak in the beginning. Maybe that'll be remedied by the D6 and not the D4. I'm not sure, but I want to see where it goes.
Yeah, so I'm of two minds about this, but I do think this version of the monk does help a lot. For instance, with just their base kit that they get at second level, they still have flurry of blows, they still have patient defense, and they still have step of the wind, which now step of the wind allows you to dash and disengage in the same bonus action, which I think it's an awesome feature. It's definitely better than what rogues have, and I think it justifies the key point spent for that. Honestly, because they have access to weapon mastery and they can now make 3 attacks at first level with no key expended, I really don't see too much value in that argument anymore. I think monks, granted, maybe they need a little bit more defense, but even their patient defense option does shore up that ability a little bit. I don't know. I think they're appropriately powered at lower levels. I think that, personally, I don't mind the amount of key points that they get, especially because they've sort of ruined the best use for your key points, which is Stunning Strike, which we'll get into. Maybe the only thing that I would change for the key cost of the monk abilities at lower levels is Deflect Missiles, which you get at third level, which we'll get right into. Also at second level, you get Unarmored Movement. That hasn't been changed. But anyway, you get Deflect Missiles, which it still costs a key point to reduce the damage that you take from that. Or let's see. No, it still costs a key point, to throw it back at an enemy, which now, let's see, it does 2 rolls of your martial arts die, which is pretty good. At 5th level, that's 2d8
yes.
For that damage. Maybe I'd say add your Dex mod to that too, because it just sort of feels like a ranged attack at that point. Mm-hmm. But
I will jump onto your argument there, because I do like now that they're giving more oomph to the key points that you're actually spending, right? So the Step of the Wind, having that disengage property is super cool. Still don't know if I'm going to be using it at low levels instead of just using my Flurry of Blows, because I need to do that extra damage. But I do agree, even with the Deflect Missiles, and with the Deflect Missiles specifically, it doesn't look like the text, and I could read it again, but when I read it this morning, I didn't see the throw it back. It seemed to be redirect the attack, is which they mentioned.
Yeah.
Which I love the flavor of, but I mean, I love the idea of throwing the arrow back. That's super cool. But instead of we have gun-toting gifts now. So let's say a flintlock is fired in your direction, you just redirect, you just slap the bullet away towards somebody else. That's very cool. I love the idea of redirecting it.
And even to take that a little bit further to 13th level, I love that they've removed the verbiage that you catch it and throw it back. Mm-hmm. Because, you could do that, but that doesn't work for bullets necessarily, or for energy attacks, which you can now also redirect. Only at 13th level, you get this feature, Deflect Energy, which just allows you to use Deflect Missiles against any ranged attack that deals any damage type, not just bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing. So that's pretty fucking cool.
That's what I've always wanted.
Yeah, and that's what I want too, because when I'm playing a monk, I want to be Goku, and I want to slap the Kamehameha away into the stratosphere, or I want to slap away, the Scorching Ray or the Eldritch Blast or whatever. Honestly, I could see to have that included at third level. I don't think it's that powerful that at 13th level, how many ranged attacks are you really going to be dealing with? It's usually AoE stuff. So personally, I would say just throw it in at 3rd level, but either way, it's awesome that it's finally here.
No, absolutely. I mean, you do have to wait a little bit for it, but the idea that I can now catch an incoming Eldritch Blast and, like, soak it up with my hands and charge it up and throw it back like that, that's just so cool.
Oh, that is awesome.
I'm
like,
so stoked.
Like you fucking catch it and make it your own energy attack.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I don't know about you. I always imagine Eldritch Blast being purple. That's just like my vibe.
Oh, same.
So it flies over, you catch it, and then you channel your ki and your discipline points into it and becomes like a white gold, and you throw it back. Oh, and then, like, you're purifying the magic. I love that. That's so sick.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, okay. So, that's it's like a revised, what is it, Sun Soul. What it was, because Sun Soul was bad. It used to be bad.
Yeah.
But now I could feel like a Sun Soul as I deflect firebolts and Eldritch Blast, which is what I wanted from the Sun Soul, period. So I'm good.
Yeah, I am disappointed that we're not seeing a Sun Soul make a return here in better form, but I'll get over it. The other subclasses are pretty cool too. I was surprised that Mercy's the one that they went with, and I guess we'll get into that now because at 3rd level you also get your subclass. So the subclasses that they've chosen here are Way of the Open Hand, Way of the Elements, Way of Shadow, and Way of Mercy, now renamed Warrior of blank. But Way of Mercy is awesome, but it's sort of niche, and I feel like the monk that also heals may be sort of encroaching on other class territory. I almost wonder if a revised Sun Soul monk or a revised Way of the Long Death might be more appropriate here.
I don't know, because as a support player, I love the idea that I can heal as I'm in combat. I think that's super cool. If I had to pick one monk to play, I mean, it's going to be either Long Death or Way of Mercy, because I think they're just the coolest ones. But I don't know, because I really feel like the monk they are in like the warrior group, right? I don't necessarily see them as the warrior, even though that's what they're called, but I also don't necessarily see them as a priest, which is kind of where I feel they're in between. So I don't think the Way of Mercy is not like an incredible healer, right? You're not going life domain cleric. You're not what is it? What is the divine soul sorcerer, right?
Yeah.
You're not one of these massive healers that's just meant to put out this healing. You know, you're just healing little bits of here and there. If someone drops in combat, it's easy enough while you're punching your enemy to quickly tap your ally. It's like passive healing to me, and it's in small doses. Also, they get the ability to do the damage still. They still have I think it's Hand of Harm and Hand of Healing, if I'm not mistaken, which we see at our table all the time, because Patrick plays a Way of Mercy lizard folk monk, which is very cool. I do like it, and we'll dive into it a little bit later again, but I don't know. I don't think they're necessarily encroaching. I think the idea of just having a little bit of healing in the warrior class is fine. I mean, fighters have second wind. Barbarians don't have any healing at all, but they also take half damage all the time. So I don't think it's unreasonable, since you're not reducing damage a whole lot beyond slow fall and deflect missiles, which does not apply to all attacks, right? I think it's reasonable to have a little bit of healing, but
yeah, which I will say is fair. The one other argument that I'll make is Way of Kensai might be filling a nice niche here, because you'll notice the Tasha's dedicated weapon feature is nowhere in sight. So monks no longer can use any like two-handed weapons that deal a D10 of damage, like they could because of Tasha's. And so I think the Way of the Kensai, or I guess Warrior of the Kensai Warrior, however they want to call it, would fit an interesting niche here, just to give you that extra damage, because then also you get that access to those weapon mastery properties, and all of a sudden I'm imagining a monk with the flex feature, with a long sword in one hand and something else in another, and just going to town with that sort of prowess. I think that's pretty metal as fuck.
No, it is. It's definitely very metal.
So I might like to see a Kensai monk return, or maybe even they get like a little bit of fightery stuff where they can redirect a specific weapon mastery property they want on one of their monk weapons, or whatever weapons they have access to.
Maybe.
I think a weapon focused subclass is what I'm saying would be appropriate here, since all of these monks do seem to sort of think about their weapons as an afterthought, especially at higher levels. When your martial arts die does surpass your dagger damage, which, to be clear, the way that this new martial arts die works as well, it doesn't apply to your weapon attack, so it's only on unarmed strikes. So while the Nick combo at lower levels you know, a D4 to a D6, you're not losing out on that much damage. You're getting a lot more from that extra attack. But at higher levels, you know, when your martial arts die is a D10, do you really want to waste, you know, 2 D4 attacks unless you've got some extra shit like Hunter's Mark or something to throw on top of it? It might not be worth your while.
I don't know. I like the idea of a monk having a weapon in general. I think it's cool. I like the way of the Kensei. The idea of it's very cool. But when I think way of the Kensei, I think samurai fighter, right? I think they're very close.
That's fair.
If they were gonna do a way of the Kensei, I don't believe, and I have to double check. I have not read through the fighter stuff that they've changed with this.
They haven't. There's no fighter in this.
Oh, perfect. Look at that. So I wouldn't mind. Now I am playing a samurai fighter now, so I'll be a little upset, but I wouldn't mind, we've never seen this before, if they swapped the subclass to a monk. I could see that because they, to me, feel like spiritual fighters. They're channeling their discipline. They're channeling their, you know, their graceful strikes. If you're going to make a weapon-based monk, I'm down for a samurai. I mean, think of the ability to get a fighting spirit, right? That screams monk, getting some temporary hit points, advantage on your strikes because you're, you know, so graceful and slow and dedicated to your attacks. To me, I think it would be a really cool monk subclass, but I don't know.
That could be cool. They'd have to, in my opinion, they'd have to rework the cost of that because you know, as a fighter, you don't care about your bonus action as much, but a monk wants to be using their bonus action for patient defense or their unarmed strikes. So, do you use a bonus action for your fighting spirit and then it applies for a few rounds, or how does that work exactly?
There's definitely a lot of tweaking that have to take place, but I like the idea. If you're going to do a weapon-based class or a weapon-based monk, I kind of want to see the samurai. But
that's fair.
We'll see where it goes. I do want to jump into the controversy that is Stunning Strike.
Yes.
At this point in time. So similar to the Paladins, Stunning Strike is a little bit weaker now. The monks that we all know and love, they're all about stunning people, right? And they're not afraid to burn 1 to 4 key points to make sure that the dragon is stunned, because stunning is a broken feature in this game. Being stunned for an entire round of combat, a full round of all your teammates just taking their turns, beating the crap out of a dragon or a beholder or whatever it may be, right? Extremely strong, right? But now, no longer can we do it each time. No longer can we flurry of blows and on each one make it a stunning strike. You can only do it once per turn, pass or fail, which just hurts my soul. I don't know. I get it. I completely get it, right? Because it's a very strong feature, but it hurts because that's what they're designed to do. That's one of the core pieces of monks. You know, maybe they don't outshine, especially before when they had that D4 in the beginning. Maybe they don't, outshine in damage output for sure, but they're getting a lot of strikes off, and they get a lot of chances to just hit that right nerve on the enemy and freeze them up, lock up their muscles, right? It's very cool. I love their little, their patient defense and their flurry, like all the extra abilities they get added to their combat. But I kind of wish we could still do it multiple times per turn. I don't know how you feel about it, Zach, but I'm not sure if people are going to be super happy about this one.
I don't think the monk needs any nerfs because it's not that powerful as is. With that said, if there was one thing that I would do to change the monk that may be nerfing it, it would be this change. I feel like Stunning Strike is obnoxious, especially, which it doesn't happen often, but if you have ever seen a monk player fight in PvP, they're always going to win because of Stunning Strike. You just can't outlast all those con saves.
Can't do it.
So, I don't know. I think that it's an appropriate change. It also is kind of cheesy to have a class that can just expend all their resources in one turn. To do that, I mean, even the Paladin has more spell slots than that to Divine Smite on every attack on their turn. But
I don't know. I to be honest, I would love to see something different than Stunning Strike. You know, if we're going to nerf it to this point where you can only use it once per turn and only get that one con save, which, by the way, every monstrosity that you fight is going to be good at those. I would like to see almost, if we're going to talk about ki and energy and like spiritual flow, right? I always think of like energy as like a flowing kind of, I want to say lucid, like a liquid sort of a thing, right?
Yeah.
What if I imagine spirituality and whatnot. Like there's nerves you can hit, right? You've heard like the myths of like you can hit someone in a certain spot and they bark like a dog or whatever it may be.
Pressure points.
Or it's pressure points. You know, they're locked down. Like that's what the stunning strike is. You hit them in the right spot and they freeze up, right? I love the idea that instead of stunning strike, you get like a couple different abilities you could choose from to do. Maybe you could hit them just in the right spot on their neck, and then their eyes cut out, so they're blind for a round or something. Or maybe you hit them in the side of the head, and they're deafened for a little bit. Or so I like the idea that they could manipulate the body and make like almost be like a debuff king, because no one else is like a huge debuffer. Right? There's not like a specific class that focuses on that, and the monk kind of gets mixed up in the classes, sort of. He's kind of a warrior, he's kind of a priest, he kind of does a little bit of healing, but he kind of does some damage, but not enough as other people. I don't know. The Stunning Strike feels different now that you can only do it once. It doesn't feel nearly as good, which was one of the biggest strengths of the monk. So if they're going to nerf it, I wouldn't mind seeing what else they have up their sleeve if they wanted to take another crack at it, personally.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I'm wondering how it interacts, though, because if, blind is good, deafened is good, any other...
reduction of movement, perhaps?
Yeah, anything that you can afflict would be good, but it's not as good as stunning. And stunning only costs 1 key point, so how do we balance that? Is it you rely on a different resource? Do you get to do them for free? And then stunning only costs a key point? Is it stunning now costs 2 key points and the rest only costs 1? I'm not sure, but I do like that idea. I almost feel like that would be appropriate on the Way of the Open Hand, which is a little lackluster in this version, I will say, but we'll get to that. But yeah, Stunning Strike is it's not a great taste that it's leaving in my mouth. If they want to go back on it, I won't be upset, but I also won't fight super hard for this one because I do think it is kind of busted in its original form.
I just think they needed something busted. They needed one thing. I don't know if they have necessarily a whole lot else until we get a little bit higher level, which we'll talk about. The 6th level Empowered Strikes, they really just kind of changed the way it works, but it really does the same thing. So before, you got, you could overcome magical resistance with your fists, basically, your unarmed strikes, which I thought was super cool and great because, you're not going to have a magic item for the most part on your hand. It's like some sort of magical glove or something. Right. A lot of times you see wraps, but now they swapped it over to force damage. So there's nothing really that resists force damage. Even I think one of the monk subclasses later on gets resistance to a whole bunch of stuff, and it's not force damage. So
which I did think was interesting because then that makes that version of the monk the monk killer, right?
Mm-hmm. The anti-monk.
Yeah, you have to fight a monk with a monk. It's the only way to get through their defenses.
That's a great campaign idea. You go to a monastery and there's one monk that went rogue and is hunting down all the other monks because they don't like their spirituality. They don't like their way of thinking. That would be very cool.
That makes sense too because in anime, when people are fighting, the most powerful people are always doing it with their fists. Like we have access to super high powered weapons, and nope, punching still does the most.
Still does the trick.
So that makes sense. If you can do force damage with your punch, why would you do anything else?
Completely agreed. It's just a good change overall. I think it's fine. Makes things a little less confusing. 7th level, we still have evasion. Evasion is great. It's one of the best abilities in the entirety of the game because it's so good. They still get it level 7. I don't think they changed. I think it was still level 7 before.
No, and I believe it was rogues maybe that had it changed. But now they also match at 7th level. And we'll talk about this later, but the Hunter Ranger now, rather than getting evasion at 15th level, gets it at 7th level too, which I think is appropriate. 7th level is a good level to get evasion.
No, I completely agree. 7th level, you should be able to avoid things like that if you're one of these classes. What gets really crazy is when we get still 7th level here, we get heightened metabolism, which to me is now even more of a big deal than Stunning Strike itself. This now is the coolest thing that monks do. Period. Right? So, before I mentioned that it's difficult to regain your key point, or not your key point, your discipline points. Very different. So, sorry, guys. It's difficult to regain those because you have to get a full short rest in. This ability undoes that. If you spend at least 1 minute resting, you get the benefits of a short rest. This is not elven sleeping or the trance that they get where they only sleep for 4 hours, right? This is 1 minute you spend and you get a short rest. There's a spell called Catnap. I think it's a third level spell where you can get a short rest of 10 minutes, which I think is very strong, and I personally pack on my wizard to this day.
Yep.
Just in case our monk needs a quick recharge, right? 10 minutes, back to full, ready to go, especially at the level we are, 14, 15, or maybe even 16. I think we're 15th level at this point.
Yeah, we're still 15.
So 15. So very strong getting all your key points back, especially 7 key points is nothing to look away from. That's
Absolutely
quite a bit of key points there. It's enough of your flurry of blows. You can still do a step of the wind if you need to, some patient defense. You still have some more there. And then just spending 1 minute after combat to get them all back. This gets even stronger as you level up, right? Let's think you're a level 10, level 12, level 15 monk, level 20 monk. Getting all your points back, just blow your load every fight. Do it. Like, there's no reason. This is where you get to be a really cool monk.
Which you should, because...
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, you key does function... or power all of your best abilities, so absolutely go nuts. Though the existence of this feature, I think, necessitates the change to Stunning Strike, because if you can just blow your Stunning Strike every combat on the big enemy of that combat, every time you're gonna use every key point until you stun them to death, then you're just going to do that every time you fight with no consequence from 7th level on.
I'm so glad you said that. I said it as soon as I got here before we started hitting record and everything like this. I was like, I really don't know how I feel about this. There's some things that I feel kind of strongly about, and I'm not sure. But I do agree that this is very strong, and it may warrant that nerf to the Stunning Strike. So, very cool ability. I love it. Keep giving me all of your opinions, Zach, because you're making me feel better about all of this. I think I feel a little better about the monk now.
Good. At 9th level, they just changed the improvement for your unarmored movement. Now it's called acrobatic movement. It does the same thing. You can run across vertical surfaces or water as long as you keep moving. Let's see. Self-restoration at 10th level. Through sheer force of will. This is sort of replacing a lot of features that the monks got. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now you can just use a bonus action to remove one of the following conditions from yourself: charmed, frightened, or poisoned. In addition, foregoing food and drink doesn't give you levels of exhaustion. I think that's cool. It's nice to put it all here so that we can get some extra shit. For example, at 13th level, we get deflect energy. I would personally roll that into the previous feature and give us something else, but it's nice that we're opening up the space there. And then there's also this design note, because previously monks also, I believe it was purity of body that gives them immunity to disease, and they can't get exhaustion from not eating or whatever the case may be. In this case now, they're just saying, well, we're not using disease the way that we plan to. So we're just going to get rid of it. And so that's fine by me.
Which was a needed change. I'm a little disappointed that we're pulling away from disease. I think it's a cool mechanic. But, I get that we're into a lot of other mechanics now, so makes sense to me.
Yeah, there were some cool adventures in 5e that had disease come up, but to your point, at 3rd level, paladins are immune to disease, so why are we using it?
No, it's true. I always, when I think of disease, I always refer back to when our group wizard got super tetanus in that dungeon. Which were like, super tetanus? You're joking, right? Nope, it's a real thing. So that was very fun. The only thing before we move on, I'll make a really quick note because I know we're running out of time here. The self-restoration, since it does take over a couple different abilities, and I'm going to compare the monk to sorcerer again, being that they pull their energy, they pull their powers from within, right? Sorcerers with magic, monks with their martial abilities and their spirituality, right? I don't know. I love that they changed from an action to a bonus action on this, being able to remove the charmed, frightened, or poison. That's awesome. But I was kind of hoping to see more. I was kind of hoping for them to be able to also kind of force off blindness or deafness, being able to close your eyes, channel yourself, kind of, center your energy, and then open your eyes, and they're no longer the blackened state that they were before. I kind of wish there was more conditions on it, but, no big complaints there.
Yeah, I don't think blindness or deafness would be too overpowered at 10th level. Though this is a very strong ability just to be able to remove a condition from yourself with no resource cost. It's just a bonus action.
Yeah, as a bonus action, that really gets it.
And so, this is, you were poisoned and you would have to use your action, or you were frightened and you'd have to use your action to get out of that. Now you can do it as a bonus action and it just happens. Like, there's no roll involved. So that's pretty nuts. But I think blindness and deafness would be very appropriate. I don't think anything more powerful than that, though. Like for paralyzed or petrified, that's fair. Shit like that, no.
The high-end stuff for sure. My only argument against what you were saying, was that you are, as a monk, using your bonus action, which as a monk you could use for a number of other things. So you are trading your flurry of blows, potentially 2 attacks for this. So I would like to see some other things in there. So we'll see if they change it, but maybe not. So deflect energy we talked about before at 13th level, which they can deflect magical things like firebolts, eldritch blast, bullets too, things like that. Cool stuff. What else we got? We have discipline survivor. Sounds very cool. You get proficiency in all saving throws. I don't think that is too different from what it was before. I don't think it was called discipline survivor.
No, I feel like
else.
It was Diamond Soul maybe.
Diamond Soul, Diamond Mind, something along those lines. But I think it does the same exact thing as before. So that's cool. I love the idea that they get proficiency in all saving throws. It really channels the energy and the ki coming from their insides.
And I don't believe that this part of it was included in the previous version, but you can re-roll a failed saving throw using a discipline point, which is awesome to get at 14th level. It honestly makes this feature a lot more powerful than even the vamped up version of Indomitable that fighters were getting.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's earned. The monk really needs something cool at this level.
Agreed.
So that's definitely appropriate. At 15th level, you get perfect discipline. When you roll initiative, you would gain 4 expended discipline points. That was their 20th level feature previously. And you'll also note in this Unearthed Arcana, and it's the same across all the classes, they've done away with epic boon feats at 20th level. So we've returned to the previous class progression, and now all of the class capstone abilities are back at 20th level. I really don't like that. I was a big fan of the epic boon thing, being able to get the capstone ability and then multi-class 2 levels is my jam. So I want to see that return for sure.
Wait, they did that for everything? They removed the boons for all of it?
Yeah. So now epic boons, the feats still exist, but they're just sort of like a little footnote, like, hey, if your DM's cool and you're at 20th level, when it would be appropriate for you guys to level up, you can take an epic boon. But it's super last minute, shoehorned in there. And then they add that at 19th level, when you get your ability score improvement, you can use that to bump yourself up to 22 in a stat if you'd like.
That's fine, but I want the boons. I want the boons.
Yeah,
back.
I want the boons. Give me the boons.
Give me the boons.
Give me the boons and the stats.
Come on, do it.
Yeah, I want a +2 to get me to 22 and an extra special feat. If I'm going all the way into this class, right? Because way back at 5th level, I really wanted to multi-class into fighter. If I made the right choice and stuck with my class this entire time, then god damn it, I want it to be special.
No, absolutely. You should be rewarded for getting level 20 in one class for sure. Because there's so many. I mean, and I know they're doing away with a number of the options now in the newer versions. Just being able to having to get to level 3 to get a lot of your stuff. But still, multiclassing is still valid. We'll see where it goes from here. I don't know. Maybe they changed a whole lot of other stuff I haven't seen yet.
Well, yeah. So I'll say, generally speaking, a lot of these 20th level features have become more powerful. So, for instance, the monk. They get their perfect discipline at 15th level, and so at 20th level, their final feature, well, I guess, hold on, we'll talk about superior defense first. So this was a feature that at 18th level, previously the monk, I believe it was still 3 key points to perfectly bolster your defenses against harm for 1 minute or until you're incapacitated. During that time, you have resistance to all damage except force. I believe they also turned invisible before.
I think they did. I was going to say, I was reading this, I feel like they had some sort of invisibility added to that, which I still think is very cool. I like the idea that they're going full monk. They don't take as much damage. They're beating the crap out of you while they're doing it. I like it. I'm in. Seems good.
I like the Uber form. I don't necessarily think that
form.
I don't think being invisible is a necessity for this. I like just having it be the defense, and if you want to turn invisible, be a shadow monk. And that's my 2 cents on that. I don't think the nerf at this level is not bad. Resistance to all but force damage is still great.
I will say, for 3 points, you're getting some good value out of that. It doesn't say you can use it once per rest or anything like that. So this is one of the only monk abilities that I know of that I'd be very willing to spend 3 points on. So I'm in.
Oh, for sure. Well, and it's probably the only one that I spend that amount of points on because they ruined Quivering Palm for the open hand monk, and we'll talk about it. But anyway, at 20th level, you get Defy Death, which this is an awesome feature. Anytime it comes up in some of the other classes, we love it. I love it here too. If you drop to 0 hit points, you spend 4 discipline points to roll 4 martial arts dice and add the dice together. Your number of hit points instead changes to the total rolled. So essentially, when you drop to 0 hit points, you can, it doesn't even cost a reaction. You just spend 4 key points and you're back in the fray. Awesome. It is just like the Barbarian. It gets a little bit harder to do each time you do it. So when you use this feature, each time after the first, the discipline point cost increases by 2. So at max, at 20th level, you've got 20 total key points to spend. If you haven't used any of your key up to this point, what the fuck are you doing? You got down to 0. But potentially you could use this. It'll be 1 time is you're down to 16, 2 times you're down to 10, 3 times you're down to 2. So feasibly you could only use this 3 times. It's definitely not busted, and it's cool that you can whip this out. I have no problem with it. And then when you finish a short or long rest, the cost resets to 4.
I like it. I like the Defy Death thing. It feels very Way of the Long Death sort of vibe. I don't know if I like this on base monk, and I don't know if it's exactly what I was looking for. I think it's cool. I love the idea that it's not, it's not a death ward, right? It's not you just resist the damage, but you drop to 1 instead. You're actively healing back up quite a bit, and it's at this point it's going to be, you said 4 martial arts, so it's 4d12 of healing, so up to 48, but that could also be 4. I think that is too chancy. I don't know if I like it as a 20th level monk ability. I was hoping for something like when you use your flurry of blows once per day, you could strike like 5 additional times. Just like some crazy, just a real flurry of blows, something very monkey to me. This doesn't feel monkey to me. I've talked about the channeling of energy a whole lot in this episode. I love that concept. I don't know if that would heal you. Up to 4. I don't know if healing up to 48 points is really what I want.
No, you see, to me, this definitely feels very monkey. It's the quintessential anime. You've been beaten down, you're right about to lose, and then you finally, you unlock your hidden potential. You turn Super Saiyan for the first time, and you keep going, and then all of a sudden, you got this extra little bit to, you'll even take a few more attacks because you're fully reinvigorating yourself. Honestly, I would say screw the 4 rolls of your dice and just say it gives you 40 hit points or something. I think that would be fine.
That would be better for sure. But I will say at 20th level, just to critique a little bit, if you're getting hit by just about anything you might fight, let's just say it's a regular adult dragon, not even an ancient dragon, right? They could do 50 damage to you. So if he claws, he's just going to hit you again. You're going down still. And that was your 20th level ability.
That's true.
I think you need a little more oomph to this. I don't know if you need a complete rework. If you're going to go with the Divide Death thing, it's fine. It's not like my cup of tea what I want at a 20th level for Monk. I want to see absolute 20 strikes in a row or just some insane stuff. I don't know.
I'll say that's fair just because the Barbarian gets this kind of thing earlier and it doesn't cost any key points. But I like the flavor for the Monk. I don't hate this at 20th level, especially because it's a 20th level feature. And if you're smart, you should have multi-classed.
No, you're right. This multi-class the last couple levels, guys. Just do that.
Yeah.
But that is, oh gosh, how deep are we?
53 minutes.
53 minutes into just talking about Monk, guys. Zach, I think we need to breeze through some of these subclasses really quickly.
Yeah, so I don't have a whole lot to say about the Warrior of Shadow. Drew, do you have any major thoughts about them? I'll be upfront and say that Way of the Shadow Monk has never really been my cup of tea. So I don't care too much about these option changes, though they do seem fairly powerful. So now they do get dark vision, and it extends your range up to 60 feet. If you already had dark vision, I think that should have been there all along, so that's a good call. You can spend 1 discipline point to cast darkness. That's cool. And the minor illusion cantrip. Whatever.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm glad to see a reduction in points, though, because this one did feel kind of spell dependent, right? It felt like kind of invisibility and dark vision and darkness, that kind of stuff. So seeing that they've reduced the discipline points required for some of this stuff does make me feel a lot better. The general feel of this class, this is going to help if you're going to like playing this. You're a shadow ninja is what it is, right? You can see through the darkness that you cast, and you can now move it on your turns, which is very cool. So you can, just to be very clear, cast darkness on your enemies, teleport into the darkness and start striking them. That's very cool. But that's pretty much the sum of the class. They do some other things too, but being able to teleport, cast darkness is pretty much their big shabam right there.
Yeah, and the coolest thing that they could do in the 2014 Player's Handbook was definitely that shadow step, where they teleport around at 6th level in the darkness. And they've even improved that, which at 11th level, I believe now you can teleport not even just from 2 areas of darkness. You can teleport from an area of darkness into bright light and still use that. So I appreciate the extra utility there, and you even get to make an attack out of that, which makes it a good use of your, I believe it's just a bonus action to do. So definitely not a weak class there. The best option that they're presenting here is the Way of the Four Elements, or I'm sorry, Warrior of the Elements.
Come on, Zach, get it right.
Yeah. So they've really gutted this one from the ground up and started over, which I think is appropriate. So rather than using your very limited key points to cast shitty spells, now you can use them to do cool stuff. So at 3rd level, they've sort of taken Fangs of the Fire Snake that existed on the Way of the Four Elements and made it so that you can have it be any one of the 4 elements that you want. So now it's acid, cold, fire, or lightning damage. What this feature is called is Elemental Attunement. So first of all, you know the Elementalism cantrip, which is a new one. It just lets you create little elemental effects, whatever.
Ooh. I kind of like it though.
Yeah, no, it's nice, and it's a neat cantrip to like throw on any sort of caster too. I don't mind it for that flavor, but it's nothing huge. Like you can, if there's a fire already there, you can mess with it. It's sort of like Control Flames, but for all the elements. That's sort of the deal.
So it's sort of Druidcrafty, but kind of Control Flames. Okay, it's just something a little different.
Yeah, it's just an extra thing. But at the start of your turn, you can spend a discipline point to imbue yourself with elemental energy. Note, it doesn't take an action. You just do it at the start of your turn if you choose. It lasts for 10 minutes or until you have the incapacitated condition. So during this, it's like Fangs of the Fire Snake. When you hit with your unarmed strike, you can have it deal acid, cold, fire, or lightning damage rather than normal damage. When you deal one of these strikes, you can also force the target to make a strength save. So you heard me right. This doesn't cost an action to do, and while it's active, every attack that you deal is going to cause the DM to roll a strength save. So maybe a little tough with the housekeeping there. But yeah, in any case, on a failed save, you can move the target up to 10 feet toward or away from you as elemental energy swirls around it. And this wasn't my idea, but it doesn't say anything about moving up or down. So you could potentially punch them up in the air, punch them up in the air again, punch them up in the air again, punch them up in the air again, and have them drop 40 feet. So that's pretty cool.
That's so superhero move, though. That's so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you extend your reach as well. So it's now 10 feet greater than normal with this elemental energy. So you can throw fire punches that go 10 feet out. Sick. Their environmental burst, I believe that this had a different name, but it was like a shitty fireball before. Now it's a shitty fireball that costs less. So
good.
Yeah, it's only 2 discipline points, and you cause a 20-foot radius sphere centered on a point within 120 feet of yourself to deal damage of your chosen type. And each creature in the area must make a dex save, or they'll take damage equal to 3 rolls of your martial arts die. So at 17th level, that's 3d12. It's not nothing, but it's not too powerful. It's cool to have them have like a fireball effect, though, because they are an elemental class, so they really need like at least one big spell effect they can do. I think that this is appropriate. I almost want to see it replaced, though, with the Way of the Ascendant Dragon and their little, lines of flame or lightning or whatever that they do.
Yeah, no, I do like the elemental bursts, though. It doesn't have to be fire for me. Like, I'd like to see some acid explosions or, like, I don't know, even if you want to go Avatar, some sort of earth eruption, I think would be very cool with it. But I like the changes they made. It feels a lot smoother. It feels better. At the very least, it's viable. Like, I would try this. The old one, I would not even bother trying. It was just, there was way too much involved with it. Everything was too expensive. I might as well just play a spellcaster and do it for free.
Yeah, my only issue here is that we're not really capturing the 4 elements as I would see them. Like, acid isn't an element, so that's really, it seems like that's probably the one that they want for water. or maybe cold is, but then we don't have a great option for earth, So it's fire, lightning could be air. I could see that. But then where's earth and water? It's sort of just cold water and spicy water.
And I feel like earth is one of the coolest ones to do. Like, I want to be an earthbender if I'm going to be an elemental monk. I think that would be so sick.
Yeah, I would say replace acid with bludgeoning, honestly.
Yeah.
And that would, I don't know what that looks like. Or they'd have to describe what it looks like here for some people, I think, but that would fix it for me.
I feel like what we need to do is go 5 elements. You go water, air, fire, earth, and
heart.
Way of the good old gamer, actually, where you're able to channel all the extra exclusive content you'll find on patreon.com/TableTalk Friday. You'll find all sorts of cool content, post shows, early access, things where you can get shout outs on the show, like our patron, good old gamer. Good old gamer, we appreciate you, and you're an excellent element in the open hand. I'm not the open hand monk. I'm so sorry, warrior of the hand monk. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, good old gamer, for supporting us. And if you all would like to support us, please do that as well. We love money, and that's my mantra.
Warrior of money would be pretty cool.
Yeah, but the warrior of in-game transactions. Well, for 2 key points, you can pay your DM to make you win.
Most monks are just, not materialistic. They don't have a whole lot. They go off of their own energy and their own things that they've forged in life. But this one, it's based off of the energy of drip and cash. And that's all it is. Like, they have like really cool chains they can use in combat. And that would be... I like this. This is the way to do it.
I don't know if I like that. At 11th level, they get the Strike of the Elements, Stride of the Elements, which this is the piece of the Ascendant Dragon that they did steal. When you use your Step of the Wind, you gain a fly speed and a swim speed equal to your speed for 10 minutes. Honestly, I would... And, that's interesting. I didn't read the 10 minutes part. So it's not just on your turn when you use Step of the Winds. It's when you use Step of the Winds... Now it dashes and disengages on that turn, and you can fly and swim for 10 minutes. That's pretty good.
Oh, dang. That's a lot of bang for your buck right there.
Yeah, I like it. It's appropriately powerful at 11th level.
But how do you feel about the Quivering Palm, Zach?
Well, that'll be Way of the Open Hand. The final thing that Warrior of the Elements gets...
I totally just jumped a whole subclass, guys.
You're totally fine. Let's see. They get resistance to their choice. Let's see. Well, and so this is when you use your elemental attunement thing, so it's free for 10 minutes. Well, it's a discipline point for 10 minutes, excuse me. Anyway, they get resistance to their damage type of their choice. They get basically the Charlatan Stride effect, where while they're running past, they deal damage to their targets. And they get Empowered Strikes. Once on each of your turns, you can deal extra damage equal to a roll of your martial arts die. When you hit it, this damage is the same type that you chose for this feature's damage resistance. Honestly, I almost think Empowered Strikes might be better than having the Strength Save effect on their 3rd level feature, and just have that go up. I mean, it's pretty powerful to get or add like a D8 or a D10 extra on every one of your hits, but I mean, at the levels where it's relevant, they've also made it so Hunter's Mark also increases with your spell levels. So I don't know. I might look into that as a possible improvement. But overall, this is definitely the best option.
I'm definitely not complaining. Anything we all begged for this. We're like, please just change this subclass at all. Like, just scrap it and do something else that's bad. I'm okay with that too. So just seeing that it's actually pretty good. It works in my books. I don't care. It sounds great and flavorful, which is exactly what I'm looking for. So the next time I play a monk, I just might do this one. This one's great.
Yeah, this isn't better than, in my opinion, than the revised Way of the Four Elements monk that we've used once or twice in our home game. But generally speaking, this is great. If this makes it to print in its current form, I won't be too upset. And then finally, we have Warrior of the Hand. They ruined it. So the cool thing about the open hand technique before was that there was no save involved for any of this shit. Now, I think there was one feature that required a save. Now all 3 of them require a save. But to their credit, they are different types of saves, which is neat. So now you can addle, requiring a con save, or they can't take a reaction until the end of your next turn. You can push, forcing them to make a strength save, or you push them 15 feet away. You topple. They must succeed on a dex save, or they have the prone condition. And this is whenever you use your flurry of blows, I should mention.
What does... Maybe I'm an idiot. What does addle mean? I've never heard this word before.
It's just another way to say piss them off.
So... it's just, I'm looking at this word like, what does that mean?
Yeah, it feels a little bard-like to me. I personally, I would just say get rid of the saves for those. I believe it was the topple effect that required a dex save before. I think that's still appropriate because prone is more powerful than pushing or removing their reaction. But fuck, man, monks suck. They need something in their corner. So give us back the original version of that. At 6th level, they get wholeness of body, which they had before, but now it's just a bonus action rather than an action. And it can be used more than once per long rest. And all it does is you spend a key point and you roll a martial arts die. You heal the number of hit points equal to the amount rolled. Honestly, I think this is appropriate on the base monk, and they even have something similar in Tasha's. I think it was empowered healing or something.
Something like that,
I would return that to them and give the monk a way of the open hand something cool at 6th level. That's just me.
Agreed.
They've ruined my combat, favorite. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, but this is good both in and out of combat, in my opinion. It's definitely a good option, and you can use it a number of times equal to your wisdom mod. At 11th level, they get Fleet Step now, which has replaced. I believe it was Tranquility was the name of that feature, and what that did in the player's handbook was you just are always under the effects of the Sanctuary spell. So if you don't initiate combat, anyone who's trying to fight you is going to have to make a wisdom save to do that, or they decide better. And that's just so fucking cool.
Yeah,
to always have that option to say, you're not worth my time, and then they agree.
Like, yeah, I can't hit you, so I guess I'll leave.
Yeah.
No, Sanctuary is a very cool monk thing. I've always thought of it as being solely a monk thing, and I know that, clerics, I think maybe even paladins get it too.
Yep.
But it is 100% a monk ability. I love it.
Yeah, so that's no more. Now, instead, they get Fleet Step. You can easily stride out of harm's way. You can use your Step of the Wind feature without expending any discipline points. Whoop-de-doo. The whole point of the open hand monk is to be using my flurry of blows, so I wasn't using Step of the Wind anyway, but thanks for giving it to me for free, I guess. Terrible ability. And then at 17th level, Quivering Palm. Now before, I believe this cost 8 key points to get off, but if they fail the save, you kill them. You kill them outright.
Yes.
That's how it should work. This is the One Punch Man. You punch them, you say, you're already dead, and then they explode.
Holy crap. They explode.
Or, their heart explodes or whatever. However you want to flavor it, this is the punch of death. It doesn't work that way anymore.
This is the skadoosh, the 2-finger heart grab, and you hold it in front of them as they die.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah, so you can't do that shit. Now it sucks. When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike, you spend 3 discipline points to start imperceptible vibrations. They're harmless unless you choose. You use your action to end them. To do so, you and the target must be on the same plane of existence. None of this has been changed. But when you use the action, the target must make a con save, taking 10d12 plus your monk level of force damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. That sounds good on paper, but it's not killing ancient dragons in one hit.
No, it's not. I mean, it's still strong though, and they did reduce it down to 3 points. So
yeah, it is 3 points to use, but also if they succeed on their con save, which they most likely will, then it does nothing. So it's still. Or no, it does do damage. No, it does do half damage. So all right,
I think
it's a little more reliable, but it's not what I want, Drew.
No, I know.
What I want is the one-hit punch.
Maybe is that their 20th? Oh, they don't get a 20th level subclass thing.
No,
man, that's what I want. Take away the defy death thing. Give them the one punch. Give them the one death punch. I'm okay with that.
I honestly call it one punch. One Punch Man.
Yeah, I'm okay with One Punch Man, and then if you want, you go open hand and you get the additional crazy damage for Quivering Palm. I'm cool with that. They should get a death punch. At level 20, wizards could like shape the world. They could go to different dimensions. They can do whatever they want. We have barbarians with like a 30 strength at this level. Give them a death punch.
Yeah,
come on.
Now bards in this, they get power word heal and power word kill automatically. And also power word kill does a lot of damage even if you don't have 100 hit points or fewer now. So it's appropriate. Give them the death punch.
Power word punch, perhaps?
Power punch kill.
If you have less than 1,000 points, you die.
1,000?
Well, we have to have some sort of cap. You're not like one punching a Tarrasque, you know?
Tarrasque doesn't have 1,000 hit points.
It doesn't. I imagine it has a bajillion hit points.
No, I think a Tarrasque has 670 something.
Oh, well, we should be able to death punch the Tarrasque then. Pop, dead.
I mean, they'll succeed on their save anyway. So that's the monk. Final thoughts, Drew, about this. I think we'll take this into the post show and talk a little bit more. So if you're not subscribed on our Patreon already, it's only a couple bucks a month to get access to our sick post show content over there. So definitely check it out. But overall, I think that this version of the monk is fine. I wouldn't call it necessarily better or worse than the previous version. It's got a lot of cool stuff going for it, but I just want to see them take it a little bit further in the positive direction. Currently, this monk will perform better versus its 2014 counterpart. I feel like at most levels of play, but not at 5th level. And that's where most people play D&D, so as far as I understand. So, I don't know. Give us just a little bit more, and I think everyone will be happy.
Agreed. I think they cleaned it up a little bit with the things like not aging and the disease and all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate them for making it a little more simple, a little less difficult to read. The level 7 heightened metabolism by far is my favorite thing that they did. Monks needed this. It is very strong. Not a huge fan of the Stunning Strike nerf, but I kind of get the balance. I disagree with Zach on this one. I would like the level 20 ability reworked. I don't like it. I think it's just okay. I want to see what else they have up their sleeve. Overall, the monks are still really cool. I'd still play a monk. I don't know if they're overwhelmingly better or not than before. But I've played monks before and I never felt weak per se. Just never felt, incredibly strong. But I also play a table next to Zach, and Zach's crazy strong at everything he does. So,
I play at a table next to Sean, and he's always better than me.
We're all looking to our right, like, dang, that guy.
Yeah, and then and then the chain just ends at Patrick.
He's just looking around.
He's like, who, me?
Oh, well, but yeah, guys, this is Monks. We're probably gonna talk about this a little bit more in the post show. But I guess that being the end, thank you guys for listening to Table Talk Friday, a D&D podcast. Please check us out at Patreon. We're going to start posting some things soon on social media. I promise. We haven't done it for the last 10 to 15 years, but we're getting there.
Yeah, crazy that we had the forethought to, in 15 years, we're going to start a podcast. But
we were thinking, I had it in my mind just in case. But on this end note, can I have the monk take me out?
You sure can, Drew, and I sure am happy to take you out. Would you like me to do it outside? It might get a little messy in here when I take you out. I'll take that as a you're fine with just dying in this room, so get comfy. Here, I'll even put a blindfold on you. Oh. Yep, all right, I did it. And, well, it's been a pleasure being your monk today, and I hope you have a good sleep for the rest of your life. And thank you for listening to Table Talk Friday. I am your new host, The Monk, and I will be performing every episode of this show solo. Also, we didn't really mention that Seth wasn't here, but that's because I took him out before the start of this episode. So, good continuity there. Everyone have a good night.